So you've been involved with both Angular and React, so how would you compare those communities?
I think that they're both pushing the web forward in a really awesome way. So there was a keynote from Brad Green this morning about Angular 2 and the amazing things that they're pushing the web to do. Really cool innovation, and I feel like the Angular and React communities build on each other. I think in recent, like the last year or so, there's been a lot more cross-pollination between the ideas between these frameworks. It's a really awesome thing, and yeah, I spent a lot of time in the Angular community, and I totally loved it. And then I had a change of job and change of framework, and now I'm loving my experience in the React community as well. And pretty much, from a general sense, I find that the JavaScript community or the web community in general is a really friendly place to be and really open to ideas of challenging the best practices, challenging what we're used to doing, because we're all just really trying to push this web forward, and we're united in that way. And I think, to me, that's really exciting, really fun. There's a lot of new ground to cover for us.
Mm-hmm. So speaking to that, I guess, where do you see React going in the future, and what are sort of like the big things on the horizon within that community?
One of the things that I think is really challenging for not just the React community, but many communities in general, is the tooling around building applications. So like, you can still do script tags on an index HTML, and it totally works. But if you want to build a serious application, there are a lot of things that you need to consider. And we've kind of stumbled our way into solving a lot of these problems, but we haven't yet gathered around some really awesome tooling to make that easier for beginners to pick up. So we have the Webpacks and the Browserifys and the Babels and all of these different amazing tools that allow us to do things that we've never been able to do before reasonably. And we just need to work on making those things simpler. So especially in the React community, because things are so compartmentalized, I think we're going to see a lot more focus on making things easier for beginners to pick up and make it faster for not just building prototypes, but building actual applications in a way that makes it so we can move faster, innovate faster, and make a bigger difference in the world.
Yeah, there's a lot of options in the tooling ecosystem, but like you said, it does make a lot of complexity within that. So. Yeah. So your talk at Fluent was called The First Pull Request, and it focused on contributing to open source projects. So what are some of your ideas as a contributor, as someone who at one point was newer to open source? What's your advice for people getting involved in projects, and also for maintainers to make their projects more inviting and accessible for people who are newer?
Yeah, that's basically like my entire talk, so you can go watch it now. Yeah, I think it's actually really quite easy to get involved into open source. I've only been doing this for a short while. My first pull request was fixing a comment in JavaDoc, so like nothing that actually changes how it functions. But the real challenge is figuring out the process to get code into a project, because that is, like, we all know how to change code that we see in our screen in our editor, but getting that up on somebody else's repository is a bit of a challenge. And so I've done a lot of things, and I will plan to continue doing things to make it easier for beginners to learn about how to do that. But I think we need to do more as project maintainers to make it easier for new contributors to get involved in the project. So making our project more beginner friendly by scoping out the issues that we want help with, and by also just being available to help new contributors as they're trying to get their first pull request in, or even the third or fourth. It takes some practice, and so yeah, there's work that we can do as project maintainers, and it's not a lot of work. But by doing this work up front, it actually makes it easier for everyone, and it ultimately, the more people that you can get contributing to your project, the less work you have to do yourself. And it's you're not just motivated by reducing the workload for yourself, but also by making open source better for everybody, because you have more diversity in your open source project, more ideas coming into the project. And I think that's something that's really important in open source.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really good goal to have. So, and you say that you're newer, or like you haven't been in the community for that long, but for someone who hasn't been in the community for that long, you're very involved, and you're an instructor and speaker, and you host a podcast, JavaScript Air. So I'm just curious how being involved in the community has shaped your experience as a developer, and maybe informed your decisions as a developer. And you've already talked on how there's some cross-pollination that you've seen between different groups, whether it's Angular and React, but how have you seen that, and what has that experience kind of lent to your development?
I actually gave a talk on this at Forward.js just 4 weeks ago, so whenever that video comes up, that hopefully will be helpful to others. But one of the things that is just really useful for people as they're learning, and I would imagine even experienced developers to continue to learn, is to consume a lot of stuff. And so I consume a ton of information from podcasts and newsletters and blog posts and videos. And then the things that I'm actually really interested in exploring further, I'll build something and like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just hacking stuff together. And then once I figure out kind of how it all works, then it's really important to go and share that with other people. Kyle Simpson today gave an amazing talk at the keynote where he steps down from the stage. He's retiring from speaking to give other people an opportunity to go speak. And I think that is a really inspirational thing. He's had a lot of experience doing that. And just sharing the stage with others is really great. And so if somebody is interested in learning, a really great way is to share the things that they've experienced themselves, the problems that they've encountered and how they've solved those problems. And by doing that, the side effect of your learning experience is something that is giving back to the community as well, which I really highly value and enjoy doing myself.
So we've touched on this in a lot of different ways already, but I guess what's your best advice for someone just starting out? They don't feel ready for a lot of the conferences yet, or that they're trying to get up to speed in JavaScript. What's the strategy for someone who's just starting out in front-end development?
Yeah, I think kind of what I talked about, just the process of learning. First you consume a lot of information, then you build something based off of the kinds of things that you're interested in diving deep on, and then you teach about the learnings that you've had. And teaching really is an important part of the learning process, because Ashley G. Williams once said that teaching is nature's way of showing us how poor our understanding is. And I feel like that's really true, because if you're going to teach it, you have to really gain a really good grasp on it, especially if you're doing something like a workshop where people ask you questions. And so if you're new, don't think that you can't contribute to open source and to the community, because there are things that you know and experiences that you've had that other people haven't experienced. There's new people in everything, and for example, I have no idea how Python works, and so even the newest Python developer could teach me something about Python. And so, yeah, don't think that you can't teach people, and then go out and do it, and you're giving back to the community, and it's coming right back to you in learning.
I think that's great advice. So thank you so much for joining me today, Ken.
Thank you.